All right, Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So I want to dive right in. This competitive rematch for your district. It's one of the fiercest races this election cycle in our district. So the most recent poll has you ahead by about 6 points. And what's interesting is that 1 out of 5 Democrats surveyed said they would consider crossing party lines and voting for you. So talk to me about the issues your campaign is trying to hit and why you believe some Democrats may be willing to switch over and vote for you.
Look, we've delivered a record amount of funding for our local hospitals, the NYPD, our local cultural institutions. We have helped thousands of individuals cut through bureaucracy and red tape. So we're serving the district, we're doing our work, but we're also making sure that we have a balance, right? I think that's what those numbers are really reflecting, that whether you're a Democrat, Independent, or Republican, they want to see a balance restored to New York State and the country, where the pendulum has just gone too far to the left. I'm the one that's tackling and talking about those issues, to the solutions to tackle inflation, to tackle crime, public safety, border security. They haven't gotten the job done, the Democrats, with their one-party rule, and I think people are just looking more for a balanced approach.
We are seeing across the country this move to flip districts from red to blue. A lot of that conversation is really being driven by the discussion over women's reproductive rights. You've said in the past that you do believe there should be some limits on abortion. So break it down for us. Where do you stand on the issue?
Yeah, look, there's a contrast between my opponent and I. I say there should be limits. I certainly support protecting a woman's right in those exceptions, right? Rape, incest, life of the mother. My opponent, however, embraces late-term abortion. He supports New York's law, which allows for abortion up until birth for basically any reason, taxpayer funding of it. And when there was a measure put before the House to at least give a baby medical care if they survive a botched abortion, he voted against that. So there is a stark contrast. I believe my position is more in sync with the people of this district, and I don't believe that they embrace Max Rose's extreme view that late-term abortion should be legal.
I want to move on now to the issue of crime in New York State. You've already mentioned it. You're in favor of rolling back bail reforms, taking stronger action against repeat offenders, and increased funding for law enforcement. But these are issues that you and Max Rose seem to be aligned on. So in terms of public safety, where do you believe you differ from Max Rose?
Well, you know, Max is changing his tune this time around, but he's been on the record supporting the bail law. He was one of the first supporters back in 2008 of that disastrous law that put New York City's crime rate on a crash course to skyrocket the way it has. He also marched in front of our local 122 precinct with individuals who were chanting defund the police at a time when our NYPD needed his support. He turned his back on them. He also supported Bill de Blasio's plan to close Rikers Island and release criminals back onto our street, give parole to murderers and rapists, amnesty for gang members, you name it. He's been on the wrong side of the issue. I'm endorsed by every single NYPD union because of my record in supporting public safety, and I was the one who looked out for them in the New York City delegation, and I secured funding for them, millions of dollars in funding for the NYPD.
So, Congresswoman, as you walk through the district, you're in Southern Brooklyn, you're on Staten Island, what are the public safety issues that folks really highlight for you? What do they say they really need you to address?
Well, look, they want the bail law fixed. The bail law that Max originally supported, now he's trying to backtrack. They want that fixed.
Well, that's Albany. So
it is Albany.
What are they saying that you can work on in Congress?
So first of all, I think we need every single elected official, city, state, or federal, to be pushing our governor to fix that law. She said straight out she's not doing it. So we really, truly need to elect Lee Zeldin and get that balance in Albany if we want to fix the bail law. On the federal level, however, I've introduced legislation to require states to allow judges to continue to use discretion to set bail and consider dangerousness. That's something that New York does not do, which is why we're seeing repeat offenders, 108 arrests back onto the street. Look, if Albany's not going to fix it, I believe that with a Republican Congress that we will. But again, we need to end the one-party rule at the state and the federal level. We need a balance if we're going to get it done.
Also want to talk about guns. You've been criticized on some of your positions. Max Rose saying you've voted against banning assault weapons and against universal background checks. What are your stands?
Well, first of all, as a state legislator, I did vote for a ban on assault weapons. And on the federal level, I've taken, look, a common sense, rational approach in consultation with the NYPD on the tools that they need to go after the ghost guns, ban bump stocks, raise the age for individuals from 18 to 21, for assault weapons, which have covered all the mass shootings in recent memory. And also go after the straw purchasers. I've been balanced on this issue, and I think that that's the approach that people want in their governing. They don't want somebody who's going to go all the way to the left or the right, but somebody who will tackle the issues that we truly need. But also just say 9 out of 10 individuals caught with an illegal firearm are being released back onto our streets here in New York City, and that's really the core of the issue, putting the bad guys behind bars.
One issue I do want to talk about that Washington does have some influence over is that iron pipeline, right? That flow of guns coming from southern states winding up on the streets of New York City. What can you do? What more can be done in Congress to help stop that flow?
Well, that's exactly what the bill that I did support, right? It was the straw purchases, people who are eligible to purchase a gun, then turn around and sell it to somebody who is legally not allowed to have a firearm. That's what the NYPD is telling us we need to go after, and that's why I supported that common sense legislation. And also the ghost guns. You know, that's a big part of what NYPD says is the issue, and so that's why I voted for common sense policies that would tackle that as well.
And Congresswoman, I also want to talk about the migrant crisis here in New York City. It entered a new chapter. The Relief Center on Randall's Island is finally open. I think less than a dozen people went there so far. Is that Relief Center the appropriate use or the best use of city resources right now in dealing with this crisis?
Look, there's no doubt that this is a crisis that was manufactured by Joe Biden with his open border policies that have led to nearly 5 million people entering to our country, affecting all cities across America, including ours. The mayor should not be using the right to shelter law to house individuals who are non-citizens. I believe he needs to challenge that law because it was meant for homeless New Yorkers, many of whom right now are on the streets and could use shelter in these resources. Additionally, it is a strain on our schools, the overpopulation of our classrooms, and I think the issue is passing border security measures that we've introduced that Nancy Pelosi won't allow for a vote. It's about fixing the asylum process, making sure that people apply from the next safe country, not come all the way to the United States and cross our border, inundating our Border Patrol agents and judges there. We have to add more judges to hear these claims, to differentiate between legitimate asylum cases and those that are not, because 90% of those who enter claim asylum, but they don't return back for court because they know they don't have legitimate cases.
And Congresswoman, before you go, I want to talk about the race for New York governor. There's been this big back and forth between Lee Zeldin and Kathy Hochul over a televised debate. What do you think? Should New Yorkers see a televised debate? Will that help New Yorkers make their decision in the final days?
Sure. I had a debate with my opponent on CBS. We just had 2 in the district, and certainly Kathy Hochul should afford our New Yorkers the same opportunity to see where she and Lee Zeldin stand. I think the reason why she won't debate him is because she's been wrong on the issue. She won't fix the bail law.
Yeah, but Zeldin's saying that he won't agree to this New York 1 debate either.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they should figure it out and at least debate somewhere. There should be at least 1 or 2 debates for the public to see. But the reality is that Lee Zeldin's the one that will stop that $23 congestion pricing toll that they want to hit people with, and he will stop this bail law that has become a disaster for crime.
Congresswoman, thank you so much for your time.
You.
Thank you for coming back to Picks on Politics.